Frontline stocks gain, keeping mainline indices in the green even as the broader market sees more stocks declining than advancing. Utilities and IT are the prominent gainers, even as industrials and auto drag. RBI approves only a one-year term extension for IndusInd Bank CEO Sumant Katpalia against the three-year extension sought. The shorter duration of extension raises uncertainties, the stock slips. Sun Pharma is set to acquire Checkpoint Therapeutics that owns an FDA-approved oncoderma therapy drug for an upfront payment of $355 million, while Lupin launches a cardio drug in the US with an addressable market of $446 million. India is looking to cut average applied tariff for US imports as part of bilateral discussions. CNBC-TV18 has learned that this as talks with EU on the FTA resume today and efforts to seal the trade deal with UK continue. Government initiative applications for the post of IRDAI chairman as the term of the current chair, Devashish Panda, ends on March 13. Two senior bureaucrats could be front-runners for the post. Hello, welcome to Business Lunch on CNBC TV18, coming live from CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal Studios. I'm Vinny Motiwala and thank you so much for tuning in to the show. A quick look at what the market is doing today, right? We are seeing that the benchmark indices surely are managing to hold on to some bit of a green. So whether you look at the Nifty or the Sensex, they're off the day's low, but they're managing to hold on to 0.2% of gain. At least the Nifty as of now, 22,590 levels is what the Nifty is at. 74,500 is what the Sensex is holding on to. Yes, the day's highest point was much above this, but yes, 2/10 to 0.3% of gain, no complaining on that front. Broader markets, right? I was saying, look at the midcap. Opened up in the green, then we saw that fall coming in, and now midcap is trading at the day's lowest point, down 0.5%. And the worst fall we're seeing coming in is for the small cap. While last week had seen that bit of an outperformance coming in from Nifty small cap, today it's a different story coming in at the beginning of the week, and Nifty small cap too, as of now, is surely trading at the day's lowest point. Pull up the Nifty Bank. What is that doing in trade? Nifty Bank seems to be holding on to some bit of a gain today, right? We've seen it flip-flopping between the red and the green. Right now, again, it's gone to that positive side, so that is interesting to watch out for. Because let's pull up the Nifty contributors, and you know why that Nifty Bank is seeing a bit of a flip-flop is that, you know, when you look at the contributors and the overall performance coming in from some of these banking names. So ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank is something that is supporting the move of the market right now. We have Infosys also, as well as HUL among these names which are supporting the market. On the flip side, we have IndusInd Bank, which is seeing a fall, and like I was mentioning in the headlines as well, because of that uncertainty around, who's going to be the next CEO going forward, because Sumant Katpalia has got only a 1 year's extension right now. So that is important to watch out for, and that is why that flip-floppy trade that we're seeing coming in terms of the market move for Nifty Bank. Let's talk about some of these small names and mid and small cap specifically, where we are seeing this fall coming in. Today, pull up something like a JM Financials, 361 WAM. All these are seeing sharp pressures, falls of more than 6% for JM Financials, more than 6% fall for 361 WAM as well. So that is something that's seeing some bit of a pressure in today's trading session. Top gainers on the flip side, we have something like an Aavas Financier, DOMS, Dr. Lal Pathlab, Sanofi India, managing to hold on to very good gains in today's trading session. Today, there are no stocks that have actually managed to reach that all-time high level or all-time low level. So it's interesting to watch out for that. An advance decline ratio today is clearly in the favor of declines versus an advances that we're seeing coming in. So, you know, that pressure is coming in on the market front at least. Broader end specifically seeing more of that pressure coming in. Declines are at around 1,883, while advances are at around 800. So interesting to watch out for where the market will be headed, especially autos That's a big drag coming in, as well as PSU banks. That's seeing some bit of a pressure, while metals and media continue to be top sectoral gainers. But yes, that's how the market setup is looking like. Let's move on and start with the first story for today. We have US President Donald Trump, who has continuously criticized India for high tariffs. And once again, on Friday, he told reporters that US can't sell anything in India due to the high tariffs. Listen to what he had to say.
India charges us massive tariffs, massive. You can't even sell anything into India. It's almost restrictive. It is restrictive. You know, we do very little business inside. They've agreed, by the way, they want to cut their tariffs way down now because somebody's finally exposing them for what they've done.
Also speaking to CNBC, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent commented on the effect of tariffs and the push for a stronger dollar. Listen in.
The Biden administration created this bad equilibrium where the top 10%, people in this room, probably most of the people watching this show, top 10% of Americans are 40 or 50% of consumption. And that is an unstable equilibrium. The bottom 50% of working Americans have gotten killed. We are trying to address that. We're trying to get rates down. And, you know, could we be seeing that this economy that we inherited starting to roll a bit? Sure. And look, there's going to be a natural adjustment as we move away from public spending to private spending. The market and the economy have just become hooked. We've become addicted to this government spending, and there's going to be a detox period. We'll see how the overall inflation numbers work out. That obviously energy's a big component, so we'll see that go down. Committee to Unleash Prosperity, Steve Moore's group, has some very good data on how regulation affected the average household. So if we're cutting that, so that's why I keep urging people to look across the entire spectrum. If you get a one-time price adjustment, and the other thing too is, are we going to, for the bottom 50% of wage earners, can we see real income gains for working Americans? Because I think that was the problem last time, that the top 10% did great and the bottom 50% got crushed. So if they start seeing real wage gains because the private sector, as opposed to the government's producing the jobs, then I think that would be a big offset. We are committed, this administration, President Trump, are committed to the policies that will lead to a strong dollar. If we bring back more manufacturing, if we have cheap energy, good tax policy, deregulate, we will end up with a strong dollar. But what is unacceptable is, in a bilateral relationship, other countries trying to weaken their currency. And so we are against the currency manipulation on a bilateral basis, but globally, the strong dollar is very important. We will continue as a reserve asset.
And Trump tariffs war continues across the globe. It is hitting global trade as uncertainties prevail on that front. Earlier, we spoke to G. Shivakumar, Executive Director and CFO at G Shipping, as well as Vinity Sarapmuthreja of Vinity Organics, to understand exactly how these Trump tariffs could affect their businesses and affect their businesses. Let's go across and listen in.
What happens is that it makes the trade just a little bit less efficient. And therefore, if anything, it's got a positive impact on the market, as you said. The concern is, if there are widespread tariffs, then it actually affects economic growth and underlying demand for the commodity, in which case that becomes a negative. On a ton-mile trading pattern basis, it's good for shipping. But if it affects demand for commodities, then that's bad for shipping because of general economic impact.
Tariffs are concerned, I don't think as of now it affects us too much. It only affects us in products where there is local manufacturing. But if you look at our top 2 products, for example, IBB or ATBS, there are no manufacturers in the United States for those products. It's manufactured in China, and China has a tariff already. So anyways, for the last 4 or 5 years, we've had an advantage supplying to the US, and I do believe going forward, that advantage will sustain for these products at least. Custom duties that they impose on products, maybe 7%, 7.5%. That's what it is as of now. It is actually just a coincidence. We always needed to have a subsidiary in the US, simply given because it's such a large market for us, and we do export a fair bit to the US. A lot of our customers want us to have a warehouse in the country itself, so it's easier to distribute products. I don't think the subsidiary becomes tariff agnostic, because there is going to be transfer pricing involved. So the subsidiary is not a way to avoid tariffs. I don't think that is possible, and that is not the intention also. The subsidiary is simply there to better service our customers in terms of distribution and having a local warehouse. And maybe if we want to do some sort of product customization or small synthesis, if at all in the future needed. It does not circumvent the tariffs in any way.
And Trump's tariff uncertainties have not spared the US itself. Now, the country's central bank, which is the Federal Reserve, also awaits for more clarity on the tariffs ahead of making its decision in the upcoming meeting. CNBC's Steve Leisman has more details on this front.
The Fed Chair Jay Powell offering a modestly dovish outlook on monetary policy amid elevated uncertainty from the Trump administration. Powell telling the U.S. Monetary Policy Forum in New York City that the Fed is watching significant changes in trade, immigration, fiscal policy, and deregulation, but would react to the changes as a whole.
As we parse the incoming information, we are focused on separating the signal from the noise as the outlook evolves. We do not need to be in a hurry, and we are well positioned to wait for greater clarity.
Notably, the Fed chair said the Fed could keep rates where they are if inflation doesn't come down to the 2% target, or ease if the labor market weakens unexpectedly. He didn't mention rate hikes and made specific mention of potential weakening in consumer spending, a sign he could be more worried about growth than he is inflation. Powell's comments left futures markets expectations largely unchanged for rate cuts in June, September, and December. Underpinning that outlook was Powell's comments that he believes tariffs would create one-time increases in prices, not broader inflation. Powell spoke after a jobs report showed U.S. payroll growth of 150,000, just a bit below expectations, suggesting no immediate impact from the administration's policy changes and that the job market remained relatively healthy. But federal government employment did fall by 10,000, a potential sign of things to come as the Trump administration moves to drastically downsize spending and the federal workforce. Steve Leisman, CNBC Business News.
Thank you so much for that. On that note, we're going to slip into a very short break, and after the break, we'll bring you the key agenda of the second half of the budget session. Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned into Business Lunch on CNBC TV18. Now let's move on the budget session of the Parliament has resumed today. Shivani is here to tell us more on what's on the agenda this time. Shivani?
Well, absolutely. All eyes are on the second leg of the budget session, which has begun today and will run until April 4th, with total of 20 sittings lined up. One of the key highlights of the day is that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will be tabling the budget for Manipur. Now, remember, Manipur has been under the President's rule since last month after former Chief Minister N. Biren Singh stepped down amid escalating ethnic violence in the state. With no elected government in place, the union government will now present and seek Parliament's approval for Manipur's state budget. But that's not the the only thing on the agenda today. During this part of the session, Parliament will take up discussions on voting on the demands for grants for the financial year 2025-26, along with the appropriation bill, which the FM has already tabled today. This is essential to ensure government departments get funding for the upcoming fiscal year. And of course, some key legislations are also in focus in this part of the budget session, like the Banking Law Amendment Bill, the Coastal Shipping Bill, the Railway Amendment Bill, and the Immigration and Foreigners Bill 2025, all of which the government hopes to push through in this session. But what's also expected today is some heated political exchanges. The opposition is likely to corner the government on the host of issues, from the alleged manipulation of electoral rolls to the recent surge in violence in the state of Manipur, and also India's foreign policy approach under the Trump administration. The government, however, has its eyes set on wrapping up the budget process smoothly and pushing through the pending bill. So a packed, high-stake day in Parliament today, with crucial debates, key legislations, and of course, the Manipur budget taking the center stage. Back to you.
Thank you so much for that, Shivani. But staying with the Assembly proceedings, now the Maharashtra state budget will be tabled in the State Assembly today. Santya is here to give us more details on this one. Santya, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Vinny. So the state budget will be tabled at 2 p.m. and this is the first full budget of the Mahayuti government 2.0 for their second term. And this is for the 13th time that Ajit Pawar, as the finance minister of the state, will present the state budget. Now, this budget is particularly important as it comes at a time when the state is facing financial distress. Now, the Mahayuti government has been drawing criticism since last year for announcing one welfare scheme after the other ahead of the elections, and most of these schemes are based on cash payments and cost 96,000 crore rupees to the state exchequer. The finance department of the state has raised concerns over the financial distress the state is facing, estimating the overall fiscal deficit to cross 2 lakh crore rupees. So the biggest challenge the state government is facing is to keep the fiscal deficit within the 3% limit of the overall GSDP as per the norm. Another important thing is that the state government had promised to increase the cash payment under its flagship scheme responsible for bringing it back to the power, Mukhyamantri Ladki Bahin Yojana, from 1,500 rupees per month to 2,100 rupees per month. But this promise, it looks like it will be very difficult for the state government to fulfill in this budget. It seems quite unlikely. Vinny.
Okay, Santya, thank you so much for that and giving us the latest update. We'll surely get you all more updates from this one as well from Santya going forward. But on that note, let's just slip into the break. And here's a note for you all, for our viewers. The conversations around gender parity as well as closing the gender gap is evolving, and so are the solutions. HSBC presents a CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward Mega Summit, co-presented by Cognizant, where industry pioneers share their take on what's next. Tune in for the discussion that drive real change today, 5:30 p.m. Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned to Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. While the benchmark indices managing to hold on to that some bit of a gain, not much of a sharper fall that we're seeing. 0.2% of gain for the Nifty as well as the Sensex. Broader markets have seen a slight bit further more of a dip coming in. Midcap is down 0.7%. Small cap also seeing a bit more of a further decline coming in today's trading session, both trading at the day's lowest point. But yes, that's how the market setup is looking like as of now. The broader markets clearly seeing some bit of a pressure. But we're going to wind down this edition of Business Lunch, but here's some good news coming in for our viewers. India's business news leader is now a click away. Introducing CNBC-TV18's all-new app. Get instant access to breaking news, in-depth articles and financial world updates at your fingertips. Download the CNBC-TV18 app now from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, or you can just scan the QR code on the screen.